Hello, this is Corey Estel, and I don't know if it was that I was raised in a house where manners were a thing, but I feel a little awkward not introducing this podcast with an introduction. And just to give a note as I'm starting out, because I know there might be people out there wanting to do something similar. A writer that I respect a lot lately said, when asked about finding out what you're supposed to do in life, he said, look deep inside at the things that you are into and love and are passionate about, and you probably already know deep down inside what you're supposed to be doing. So that's what this podcast is all about. This is me, the always trivia guy to everybody I knew, starting off a venture that started 8+ years ago. Welcome to Empower the Audience.
Can we just talk here?
Because we are uncool.
I don't believe in guilty pleasure.
A choice right now between fear and love.
Okay, welcome to Empower the Audience. My name is Corey, and I'm here with Chris, and we're here to talk about the Best Picture Showcase for 2014. Well, it's actually all the movies from 2013. But we've seen the first day of movies, and in the first day we saw Grand Budapest Hotel, Whiplash, Birdman, and Selma. So we're going to be going through these movies and telling what we thought of them, which ones were our favorites, which ones were not so much. Let's start with the Grand Budapest Hotel. What did you think, Chris?
I really liked that movie. It was pretty much my favorite of the day. I'm not a big Wes Anderson film fan, so it was kind of a surprise to end up liking it a lot and kind of having it my favorite of the day.
Yeah, I'm actually a big Wes Anderson fan. He's just really quirky, and he's kind of like, you've seen a lot of movies done one particular way, or you kind of have an idea of different genres, and he just kind of came along and did different stuff. Mm-hmm. I was saying during the movie, I actually turned over to Chris and said, his movie are for OCD people, because every shot you can literally take as like a still photo, and it's just perfectly aligned, and everything is perfect, especially in this movie. Mm-hmm. And go ahead.
I was going to say, that and his use of the colors and, all that just really, really made every scene just pop on screen. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, the fun part of this one, too, was that it was more slapsticky than his other movies are. So, like, there's a great scene, no spoilers, but the main character is being taken under arrest, and he just bolts and running. So just funny, real quick, funny stuff like that. I think people that aren't necessarily, like you said, Wes Anderson fans, would be a fan of this movie just because it has that kind of silly, lighthearted thing to it. So yeah, I did think that this is, I don't know if it was my absolute favorite of the day, but it's definitely, I think, tied for my favorite of the day. So let's move on to Whiplash. Mm-hmm. Whiplash, in case I've been talking to a lot of people and they don't know what it is, and what it basically is, it's about a first-year music school, conservatory school student, a drummer at a school that emphasizes jazz, and Miles Teller is the actor that plays this young student, and J.K. Simmons, who you guys might know from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies as J. Jonah Jameson. You also might know him from the State Farm commercials. But he is the very physically and emotionally abusive, manipulative teacher. Like, he throws things at the kid. He physically assaults him. It's pretty brutal. This one, I think, for me, was tied for my favorite. I am a big jazz fan, so that had that element that I like to see, that part of it. But J.K. Simmons, who has already won the Golden Globe, was really great. So what did you think?
This movie kind of surprised me. I didn't know too much about it, and going into it, I kind of wanted to keep myself at that level of not looking too much into the movie and seeing what it was before I saw it. So a lot of it took me by surprise, and I really enjoyed it a lot. It kind of reminded me a bit of Black Swan, and that it was kind of showing how artists can really get themselves obsessed into their art or whatever it is, whether like Black Swan it's ballet or this it's being a musician or drummer, and the lengths that they go to really become good at it and kind of show others that they kind of mean something. So it was really fascinating with that. J.K. Simmons was terrifying.
Yeah.
I know. Your wife was saying before the movie she was kind of scared because she likes J.K. Simmons, and that's the thing. He's always played like these really likable characters, and he does them so well. Kind of seeing him in this, horrible role is really interesting, and he was excellent.
Yeah, I mean, if you think of the scene in Juno where she announces her pregnancy, a teenage daughter announcing her pregnancy to her father usually is going to get yelled. He's going to basically become the teacher from Whiplash, but he's like, "Oh, really? Wow." He kind of has this easygoing thing, but in this movie, not so much. I thought it was an interesting thing too, because I think a lot of time, my personal soapbox here, but a lot of times kids nowadays are not really prepared for the real world a lot by parents and by a lot of things, a lot of sources. I've worked at camps where they gave everybody a participant ribbon, and so this was showing definitely on the other extreme side. It was this teacher's philosophy that he had to be that tough to make an excellent musician, and I don't agree with his methods in any way, shape, or form. I probably fall somewhere in the middle of that spectrum, because I do think it's important to prepare kids for the world, and that it can be tough. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting example of that kind of intense environment. I was a music major for less than a semester, and I understand how hard it can be. I've had teachers lock me out of their classrooms if you don't show up on time. So it can be that intense. It's not for the meek by any shape or form. So that was the Whiplash, and then the weirdest movie of the day for sure, Birdman, starring Michael Keaton. For those of you that have heard absolutely nothing about this, I think it's really interesting. Most of the friends I have at work are huge superhero movie fans, as a lot of people are, but they really loved this movie. And the irony to that is, I think it's the director's commentary on the fact that there's so many superhero movies and TV now, and he's an independent artistic film director, so he kind of was making that commentary that there's so much that you have to do that kind of movie nowadays to be successful in Hollywood. It was an interesting study. What did you think? And I can get back to it.
I thought it was interesting, but yeah, it was definitely, it kind of caught me off guard how it was. It was like a commentary on how actors kind of it was a little bit about actors that are movie actors, and they're trying to move to Broadway and be these Broadway actors, and it was a really interesting look at that of, are they really an actor? Are they just kind of full of themselves? And then, his character was very scared that, he was going to end up dying and no one would remember him. He'd just be forgotten. And he was trying to prove himself that he was an actor, and he was more than just this Birdman character that he played forever ago. And I thought it was interesting. It kind of left me scratching my head, but was very well done, though. I mean, the whole one big long shot of the film was really interesting, because I thought that kind of played on the whole, they're putting on a play, which is you just sit there and you watch one thing happen all the way through, and there's no cuts, except for maybe an intermission. But I thought that was interesting how that's how they shot the film.
For those of you that don't even know anything about this, they kind of did a funny Hollywood thing in that they cast Michael Keaton, who had been in the first 2 Batman movies, to play an actor that had been in 3 Birdman movies, but refused to be in the sequel, which he refused to be in the 3rd Batman movie. So they were using that as a play on on the kind of real life versus fantasy. And it's like you said, it plays a lot to his insecurities as an actor. It's very much about that part of being an actor, and you're insecure and you don't know where you stand in what people think of you. It was a big part of what he wanted to be known as a serious actor. There is a theory, and part of this plays to what Chris was saying about there's very long takes. Normally in a movie there's just 30 seconds to 1 minute takes. That's all they do, and then they'll add all those together. Well, this one did really long takes to be kind of a stream of consciousness. And there's a theory, now this is not a spoiler because it's just a theory, that it's everything that takes place in his mind. So if you watch that movie, you can take that as a potential why everything's so weird and shot in that way, and it would make a little bit more sense. My wife did agree when she saw it. She said, "Dad, this seems like it's definitely in his own head," which is appropriate when you see the character because he's in his own head all the time. He's just kind of constantly questioning himself all the time. So, okay, so that was Birdman, and now we come up to the historical drama of this season, which is Selma. I've actually been waiting for a Martin Luther King movie, a biopic, for a long time, and basically an interesting thing is this movie's a partnership between Brad Pitt's company and Oprah's company. No surprise that Oprah's involved in this. She's actually acting in it, which she hasn't done in a long time. I thought it delivered on the promise of what this kind of movie usually is. I thought it was really well acted and well directed. What did you think?
Yeah, very, very well done movie. And I was thinking about that after the movie. Was like, I don't believe I've seen a biopic about Martin Luther King. And, if there has been any, it's, kind of been under the radar. And as probably one of the first big movies about him, it was excellently done. It was about one of the biggest movements that he did during his life, the whole Selma walk to Montgomery, and it was fascinating, it was educating, and you learned not just about the things that you probably, if you lived during that time, you might have saw it on the news, them trying to cross that bridge and some other things, but you kind of got to see behind it, who is MLK, what was he going through in his personal life too, which was really fascinating, because you would think they probably gloss over that, but they didn't at all.
Yeah, I thought an interesting thing I just thought about is a way to look at both Selma and Birdman in a way is the other main character in this movie is LBJ, the President Johnson during the time, and how Martin Luther King was really pushing him to do even more and more and more for the African American community. And Johnson was struggling with his legacy, and if you look at the history, you could go to Wikipedia page, probably the first paragraph, find out that he was living in the shadow of JFK. He struggled with his identity a lot, ultimately resigning. And there's a great scene, which I won't go into all the details, where he meets with the governor of Alabama, where they're dealing with this issue. The one guy resisting everything that Martin Luther King's trying to do. And it was really interesting to see the distinction between the two men, and kind of what kind of drove the story from that point. But yeah, that kind of insecurity and dealing with legacy is what the character in Birdman is dealing with. He wants to leave a legacy where he's taken seriously, and same thing with LBJ in this, which I thought was kind of an interesting way to look at those people. So this was the first day, and we really enjoyed it. We love it. If you have the opportunity in your town to see this Best Picture Showcase, what it is you pay a one-ticket price per day, and it's the 2 Saturdays before the Oscars. And the reason why it's 2 is because they've expanded the category of Best Picture to now have up to 10 movies. This year there's 8. Last year there was 9, which we went last year as well. Definitely check it out. It's worth it. The prices are actually more affordable than you think, and depending on where you are, we go to the Downtown Disney one here in Florida. Actually, they let you bring in food. They're usually lenient about that kind of stuff because you are going to be there all day. So it's definitely worth looking into. And we will be coming back next week to talk about next Saturday's stuff, and maybe even do a roundup on the Oscars. We might actually do it after the Oscars, do the next episode, so we can actually talk about the whole thing. And so this has been Empower the Audience with Corey and Chris.
See you.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. So, a funny story about us going to this Best Picture Showcase. It was on Valentine's Day, and you'll find that I am married. You'll see Zany Laney. We'll be promoting her a lot. She has her own YouTube channel. And so, of course, I did have to go buy her something at Downtown Disney when we were there. But the funny thing about this is they decided to release 50 Shades of Grey on Valentine's Day. I guess it sort of makes sense in some weird twisted logic, but the funniest thing about it is in this huge theater that we were in, they had a queue running around the entire inside of the theater for the demand of this amazing movie, quote unquote. So that was kind of funny. I actually talked to a guy outside at one of the food places, and he said, "This is all my wife wanted for Valentine's Day, so I'm going to give it to her." I'm like, okay, I guess so. I'm glad I didn't have to see it, though.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting as we're sitting in our theater watching, like, the greatest movies of the year, and down the hall, selling out in every theater is 50 Shades of Grey and their crowd of women and such.
Yeah, I mean, I can honestly say I haven't read the book, so I can't make an educated even guess at how good or bad it is. I do know that the author came from a fan fiction background. If that tells you anything, maybe she's good, maybe she's not. I don't know. It's just something I look at and have absolutely no desire to see. The only thing I actually liked about it, that I saw on the trailer, was the soundtrack was pretty cool. There was like some pretty cool covers on it, but other than that, no, thank you very much.
Yeah. All day, pretty much in between the movies, I was, in the breaks, kind of checking on my phone and on social media and things like that, kind of seeing the feedback and things that people were saying and making fun of the movie.
Yeah, you were getting running commentaries from one guy, right? He was
Yeah.
actually giving play-by-play.
Yeah.
Which we won't talk about here, what he said. But yeah, it was kind of awkward. Okay, so we saw the second showing of the Best Picture Showcase. That was, the first movie we saw was Boyhood. And that has to be like Lifetime Achievement Award in a movie. That movie was filmed over 12 years with a 7-year-old. And every time I talk about this movie, people go, "Is it a documentary? They just followed him around? Was it like, Jersey Shore or something?" No, it was a real movie, a dramatic movie. And the director cast a 7-year-old, and every year filmed the kid as he grew up. So you actually got to see, in a dramatic story, the kid grow up. I really liked this one. I was just surprised at how natural it felt. I didn't feel the odd thing of seeing him, in 30 minutes he's going to be older, or however long it was in between. It actually felt really natural, and I think it has a lot to do with the director. But yeah, I really liked it. What do you think, Chris?
I enjoyed it a lot. I was surprised I ended up liking it. Going into it, I had heard it's very boring. Just felt like there was no point. A lot of people were saying that I knew that I'd seen it, and I didn't feel that way. I felt like, yeah, it was long, and it didn't seem like there was an overall conflict and then resolution and climax and all that. But I felt like it was a story of a kid's life, of his boyhood, and I thought it was really interesting. I kind of connected to the character a little bit, so I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought everyone was excellent.
Yeah, I thought the thing I always try to get kind of into the mind of the director, and I think from my perspective, I see that there's maybe he saw other movies where they got a different actor to be the kid, and maybe that kind of he always maybe frustrated him or something. That this is totally my suppositions, but cannot be true. But yeah, it did make the difference seeing a kid that actually was the kid as he grew up, not 2 other actors or 3 other actors, whatever. It is a simple story, and I think the corporate ADD of the millennial culture, I can understand why they can't have patience for a 3-hour movie. But when somebody said it's 3 hours, I was like, the guy earned it. He filmed it over 12 years. I mean, it was a long process. It was pretty much probably the length of what some documentaries take to get made. But I really enjoyed it. It just felt supernatural. Ethan Hawke was really great in it. All the actors were great in it. An interesting thing that a lot of people don't know is the older sister in it is the director's daughter. Some people in my group were underwhelmed. I think Chris is probably one of them by her. Yeah. I kind of went with it because it all kind of felt very natural and not staged. But I can understand why people weren't totally loving her performance. But
I think her character too was a little weak-ish.
One-dimensional.
I don't know. It was, yeah.
I can understand that. Yeah, she was kind of like this selfish older sister, and just kind of a brat in that way. But I thought the kid was amazing. Like, the kid had instincts, obvious at 7. He wanted to be an actor, so he had that in mind. He wasn't going to cast somebody that didn't want to do this for a living, because obviously the kid could go, at 13, I'm out. But the thing about acting for film is a lot is what you can do with so little. Just your facial expressions, you responding to emotionally to things, and he had that all the way through. I'm really picky about kid actors because they're either overproduced and like showy, stagey, or they just want to go so natural that they can't do anything. Jake Lloyd, but that's in the prequel Anakin. If you guys know the episode 1, that was he drove me crazy, but yeah, I thought for the most part it was all good. It all felt really natural, and it felt like it had a point to it. And like they were even able to weave some topical things in. Like, there was a veteran of the war in it, which wasn't like an overbearing statement, but they just dealt with it in a human way, which was nice and refreshing. Because sometimes you feel, here comes the agenda or the preaching or the whatever it is when they try to shoehorn something into a movie. And I thought this was actually really nice and natural and human.
Yeah. Speaking of the topical stuff, I really liked Linklater's use of music in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the different, you could kind of tell, okay, this is probably around this year or that year because of the type of song that was being played.
Definitely, yeah.
And I really like the soundtrack, actually, thinking about that now.
It was really good. Yeah. Spoilers, I actually saw this sitting next to Chris, and what I leaned over and said, because I actually heard some budget. I heard Linklater talk about the budget and where he got an allotment every year. I leaned over and said, I think the budget for this movie was mostly getting the rights to music, because it's kind of crazy. They had, this kind of really technically small budget movie had as popular songs as you can think of the day. There was super well known songs, and so I'm sure that definitely played into it. I'm always amazed when they can get big songs like that for such a small movie, but that was really, that was actually my pick for the year. We're going to go over who won our Oscar pool at the end of this, so no spoilers, but we actually watched the Oscars together with our crew, the rest of the Zane Laney and Life in Hard Mode crew, and we do a pool every year where we vote. And but this was my pick for best picture, and so the next one was The Theory of Everything, which is, if you don't know, because a lot of the Oscar movies I know a lot of the younger generation doesn't know about, but this is the one about Stephen Hawking, which, if you don't know who he is, you haven't watched The Simpsons, I'm sure, because I know he's even ended up on The Simpsons. He's the brilliant physicist, cosmologist, actually is the technical term, whose quantum theories about the black holes, I don't even understand the science. I'm not a science person. I'm not the nerdist, so I can't even break that down. I know he probably loved it for all that, but this was an amazing story, and the performances were amazing. I basically, when I saw this, everybody always talks about that, you get nominated if there's a disability or some kind of struggle that the character has to go through, and I put this one above Dustin Hoffman and Rain Man. You never felt like this person there was any lack of humanity in him as he went through the whole struggle, even before you got to hear his voice in the computer, where you actually, okay, now I get to hear him without struggling to understand him. He was 100% human all the time. Eddie Redmayne killed, and obviously, if you know the results, it was good for him. This movie just blew me away. It was really, really good. It was my mom's pick of the year, so good on the movie for winning that.
Yeah. This was my favorite movie of the year. I didn't think it would win Best Picture, but it was my favorite movie. The story was really fascinating. I thought it was an interesting kind of romance film, a story of a love, but not your normal boy meets girl. They fall in love, they have a struggle, and they try to overcome it. It ended up having kind of a different outcome, but it was still really, really real. It was sweet. It was good, touching. Everyone in it was fantastic. The music, I loved the score, and the overall, I thought everything in this movie was fantastic. Eddie Redmayne was perfect. There were moments when he wasn't talking and it was just acting, and he was just absolutely real, and you knew exactly what he was trying to convey, and it was great, fantastic.
Yeah, I kept seeing like echoes in each movie of different things. Like in Boyhood, the mother's a psychology professor, and she's talking about this kind of a parenting theory about the mother and her cubs, and I just saw that even echoed in the relationship between Stephen Hawking and his wife. That she's like, he's trying to push her away, and she's like, "No, I'm here, you know, I'm here to be with you. It doesn't matter what you're going through." And it was really awesome. And again, like he said, this naturalistic thing where it wasn't over the top in any way. That was kind of the theme for, I think, both of those movies, Boyhood and Theory of Everything. Well, the next one was Imitation Game, which was a movie that about a guy that you can thank every time you Google something. This was a guy that broke the Nazi code. His team broke the Nazi code during World War II, and his machine that he used to break it basically was the beginning of the computer. The early computers were even called Turing machines after the last name of the guy, the mathematician that did this, Alan Turing. Amazing movie, and Benedict Cumberbatch is one of my favorite. You want to check my Instagram? I've got my Sherlock T-shirt. Watching this movie, watching all the movies for that day, and just, I mean, he topped himself with this one because it's an amazing story about an amazing man that just struggled against a lot of odds. Being, at first you kind of see it, okay, well, he's kind of nerdy and he's got his social issues, which we see a lot of nowadays because people are being open and honest about, like, oh, I'm awkward socially or whatever, and he had that for sure. But then you come to find out other issues that he is going through and struggling with, and I don't want to spoil anything about this movie because I want everyone to see this movie. I think everyone on Earth should see this movie. But it's heartbreaking, but it's an amazing movie about an amazing achievement and something we benefit from every day because we're all on our little phones and we're all on our computers and we're searching on the web, and it all came from this one team that built this thing that changed the war. It ended the war, from what they said, a lot earlier than it would have gone. So definitely, this was the first three of these movies were just they're all so good. They really got me. I was really impressed.
Yeah, this movie, just like the other two movies, really surprised me. I knew this was going to be a good movie about a guy that, worked on trying to crack the Nazi Enigma code and such, but it ended up being so much more about, who is someone that's a patriot, but, the country seemed to have a hard time labeling him that, and was really, really fascinating and really good. Benedict Cumberbatch was fantastic in that. I mean, when I was watching the Oscars last night and seeing them play the clips from the movies of when they said, who's nominated, seeing his performance again, I was kind of like, I wouldn't be surprised if he won it.
Yeah, seriously. That thing that struck me is Terrence Howard got up there, okay? And the thing we were all prepared for him to talk about was Selma. And he broke down crying, literally there was dead air. He couldn't talk. And it was talking about this movie. this performance, this incredible, sympathetic performance by Benedict Cumberbatch. And I gotta say, Keira Knightley was a lot. It was a lot of fun to see these two finally act together. We are big British BBC fans and like Doctor Who, Sherlock, all that kind of stuff. And there is a very small pool of British actors. You kind of see them turning up a lot. In fact, this movie had a guy from Downton Abbey, which we also are big fans of, and it was just kind of cool to see these people that in our little world of movies that we like, because we are Anglophiles, British movie fans, British TV fans. It was fun to see them actually really play off each other, and I think Keira Knightley's grown a lot. I when I first saw her, I wasn't that impressed. Way back on Bend It Like Beckham, but man, she's really grown into a great actress. I was really impressed
Absolutely.
with her. So, okay, and the final movie we saw was a movie I was really uneasy about seeing because I knew it was a heavy subject. It's obviously about the Iraq War, and this is American Sniper. And it's a story that I didn't know all the details about. I talk to people now. I could walk up to him, and everybody knows this guy, knows his story. It's all over the news. There's even a trial going on right now about it. But I'm thankful that I didn't have that going in. But man, I mean, Bradley Cooper in this household is huge because, number one, he's Will Tippin from Alias, done by J.J. Abrams, the TV show. We've been rewatching that and just discovering how much we liked him. It's funny because I forgot how much I liked him because then he came on in The Hangover and he was so convincing as a jerk that I was like, wait, what did I see in that guy? Then I go back and watch Alias and realize, oh my gosh, this guy is amazing. If you haven't seen the YouTube Louis C.K. Bradley Cooper Actor Studio thing, just keyword search all those things on YouTube. You're going to see one of the most amazing coincidences ever that was just awesome. Because Bradley Cooper went to the Actor Studio, and if you ever get a chance to see his Actor Studio, I'm a huge Actor Studio fan. I will probably be talking about it a lot on this show. He cried nonstop because it was the school he went to. And he's got such a big heart, then that's what he brings to all of these roles. He's such a really good actor, and it's fun to see him get to this level where he's actually doing these really serious roles. Silver Linings Playbook was huge for me, and American Hustle was a lot of fun as well. But yeah, this story, I have to admit, because I knew this movie was directed by Clint Eastwood, and because of the great Republican convention where he's talking to an empty chair, talking to Obama, I kind of was uneasy throughout the whole movie just because of that. I'm not political. I'm not on the other side. That's why I have these qualms. It brought back just a lot of uneasy feelings about the time during the war and all that kind of stuff. So it was a tense movie anyways by its subject matter. So that was what kind of was going through my head. I'm not trying to make a political statement at all, but I was just uneasy through it a lot. I think a lot of people were. My wife certainly was, and you probably were as well. Yeah, it was an amazing movie. It was really great. I was excited to see for a brief moment a guy from the show Parenthood that I watch. The guy that plays Joel in Parenthood. He is one of the soldiers in it, and tour de force performance by Bradley Cooper. He did a great job. And Sienna Miller, we didn't know she was in that movie because apparently when you dye her hair, she's gone. And did such a good job with the American accent. I had no clue. So, she did a great job in that as well. Tough movie to watch, but especially considering what's going on with the story of him. But it was a well done movie. It's not a kind of movie I'd watch again, but I thought the acting in it was great, and just the way they show the life of what a sniper has to go through during wartime. It's definitely no picnic, and so it was a good movie. It wasn't my favorite of the bunch, but it definitely was a good movie.
Yeah, it was very, very well done. I'm a huge fan of Clint Eastwood and his directing. Not Jersey Boys so much, but a lot of his other work I've really enjoyed. Going into this, I had to definitely put the political blinders on. I had to kind of set that aside, just focus on this as a movie on its own. And it was very well done. It was intense when it needed to be. It was honest and truthful about a lot of things, especially like PTSD and coming back home. I recognized a lot of things as a dependent of someone that was in, Desert Storm back in the early 90s. My father came back, and I saw a lot of the way Chris Kyle was acting when he was coming back, being very quiet in himself and, just wanted to stay home. And, even just driving down the road was a struggle. Certain things would kind of freak him out. And I saw a lot of that from when I was a kid and how my dad was. So that was very intense in a way, too. So, but I think it's an important movie in a way, too, in that we definitely need to recognize that a lot of people coming back from, Iraq and stuff, they still need support when they're back home, too. Not just when they're over there, but when they're here. And it's kind of getting me caught up right now. But it was definitely an intense movie. It's something that I think I probably won't watch again because it's very intense. But, very well done. I thought it was very well done. It wasn't my favorite. As a Best Picture nominee, it's kind of interesting, but it was still a very good movie.
Yeah, it definitely was done. I'm a Eastwood fan too. He has a really few good ones that I really like. I really like Gran Torino. Unforgiven's really good as well. But I related to the first movie of this bunch because I have a 15-year-old son who lives on the other side of the country, so that definitely hit me a lot. Seeing that's the kid grow up and have the dad not always be there, but visiting. That was just as personal for me, and so that's part of why I think that is probably a selfish reason why that was my number one. But so we had a lot of fun here, and we saw this at the AMC Downtown Disney Orlando, and I just want to give a shout out to the MC of. I don't know how many years you've seen him there because you've been going a long time. Has he been there a lot or just the last 2 years? Okay, so last 2 years, this guy named Donald, and he was amazing. He did a stand-up comedy type stuff in between and during the giveaways. He was ridiculous. It was just a lot of fun, and I just wanted to just put that in there because he made a lot of, because that kind of thing, it's a long time you're sitting in the movie theater, and it's great when there's somebody who actually gets it. He's a big movie fan, and he had a lot of sense of humor about what was going on. So like I said, shout out to him. We will now get to the pool of the Oscars. We used what was this? The website? Is that what we were using?
Just the regular Oscars website.
Oscars website.
They
so
didn't
it was
have an app this year.
ABC. I think it was abcgo.oscar or whatever, because this is Disney. Disney puts Go and everything, one of their URLs. But and so it was that kind of nice to do it that way this year, not have to break out the paper like we were doing. I know it's paper; it's such a chore. But well, drum roll, please. Who won? Yeah, that was Mr. Movie Guy over here, Mr. Movie Guy 84. He got 10. Was it 10?
Yeah, I think
10 or 11. Yeah. And I was in third place. My wife got second place. But so this guy is on the web looking at this stuff all the time. I'm gonna now have to get more engaged with you guys on the web, and so give us shout outs. I am at Corey Estel on Twitter. This guy is at MovieGuy84. So definitely hit us up, start following us. We're going to be talking more about the stuff we saw. Check our Instagrams as well. I'm just Corey Estel, and you're
Movie Guy 84.
Movie Guy 84 on Instagram. So we'll actually be doing a picture right after the show of our little bow tie lanyards. If you have an AMC anywhere near where you go, this is not a paid thing at all. I did not get any money for this. I've shelled out all the dough for this. But if you have an AMC anywhere near you, check and see if they do this thing. The Best Picture Showcase. It's a lot of fun. I know I always talk with people that don't know what movies or haven't seen the movies because they now have to put them on demand or stuff so people can catch them, because not every movie theater plays these small independent movies because they only play the big ones that they know are going to get big box office. So definitely check out if you got an AMC place. You were talking about this place that you even played the shorts.
Yeah, AMC this year, select theaters were showing the nominated films for the shorts categories, documentary, live action, and animated.
That's epic. So definitely check this out if you got a big town near you. If you're living in a small town, which I've experienced before in my life, definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun. It's like camping out in the movies for the day, and you get to, and then literally the Saturday after the Sunday after the last Saturday you go, you get to watch and see what happens. So definitely check it out, and we'll get back to you next time on Empower the Audience. Bye.
See you later.